Hey everybody, welcome to Meeple Bits. Thanks for joining me today. Build your own metropolis and compete with others to be the best architect around with strategically placed shops, parks, housing units, and more. Quadropolis, released in 2016, designed by Francois Gondon, published by Days of Wonder for 2 to 4 players with a playtime of roughly 30 to 60 minutes. So join me as we go through a quick setup and playthrough of this city builder game, Quadropolis. Hey everyone, welcome back to a 3-player setup of the game Quadropolis. So as we go through, let me just briefly address the different elements and components so that you have a quick understanding of how to set up and dive into this pretty straightforward city builder type game. Everyone's going to receive a player board of the color of their choosing, a score reference sheet, and then 4 tiles, numbered 1 through 4, of their colors. In addition to those components, every player is going to then assign a first player token, which is green. And then there's going to be this urbanist token, which is black. There's also these acrylic style blue meeples, like so, as well as these red energy cubes. In this game, these little containers do not come with the game. They are aftermarket. I think I got them at Staples just to hold some additional components. So please ignore that for reasons of buying the game. Next, the game comes with a black bag, which you're going to place tiles in to randomly draw out. And when you're randomly drawing out the tiles, then you're going to place them on the main player board. So the different types of buildings in the game, also as indicated by your board over here, let me find a purple one to show you. There it is. Okay. So as indicated over on your score reference sheet, that's how you're going to win the game, is by different building combinations. Those buildings are your parks. See if I can get that in the focus. There we go. Nice parks. We've got our shipping yards, red tiles. We've got our harbors, the blue tiles. There we go. We've got our public service buildings, which are kind of teal. We've got our, I think I might have already said this one, the purple shopping centers. And then lastly, our yellow apartment buildings or residences. I guess quick correction, I just looked. These ones are factories, not shipping yards. Okay, so now that you know how the different types of tiles that can come out that you can put into your city, let's briefly address how those get scored so that you know ultimately what you're playing for during the game. Let's see if I can get this right. There we go. So, apartment buildings are scored by stacking them. 1 is worth 1 victory point. If you get a 4 stack, it's worth 10 victory points. You may not stack them more than 4. Parks are scored by surrounding apartments. So if you only have 1 apartment touching a park, it's worth 2, but if you can manage to surround a park with 4, it's worth 11. Shopping centers. Shopping centers are scored by the number of meeples that you put, or the shoppers that you put onto the tile during your turn. So 1 is worth 1, 4 is worth 7. Your factories. Your factories are scored for 2 victory points for every shopping center that touches it, and 3 victory points for every harbor that touches it. Your public service buildings are scored as, let's get that in there. Focus. Oh, come on, game or camera. Don't be mean like that. All right, anyway, so your public service buildings are scored for every quadrant you have it in. So your player board, you'll notice, is separated into 4 quadrants: purple, blue, pink, and orange in this one. So for every public service building that you can put into a different quadrant will score points based on that. So if you just get 1 into a quadrant, or even if you have 2 in one single quadrant, it's only worth 2 victory points. If you manage to get 1 in all 4 quadrants, it's worth 14 victory points. And then lastly, the harbors are scored at consecutive harbors. So 1 harbor by itself is not worth anything, whereas 4 harbors touching one another is worth 12 points. So in this little layout here, these 4 harbors would be worth 12 points, but then these 2 harbors that are touching one another would be worth an additional 3 victory points. So that's the different scoring of the different tiles that are going to come out during the game. So that's all the components, so let's go ahead and set it up. For setup, everyone, as I mentioned, should receive a player board and 4 numbered tiles. Next, you're going to fill up the community board with the different tiles. Now, that's what the black bag is for, is to put them into the black bag and randomly draw them out. For myself, though, and for purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to go ahead and grab the row of tiles. The game is played over 4 rounds, so you're going to do this 4 times. So there's going to be 25 total tiles that fill up the board. On the tiles, you'll also see that there's some numbers indicated on here. So this one has a 3 and a 4, whereas this one has just the number 4. So we're going to fill the board with all the tiles, but the tiles that have the number 4, we're going to leave face down. So they're never actually going to get turned over and revealed. And I guess before we set that up, let's go ahead and talk about what the different icons are on this. So a building needs to be activated. Activation happens in the lower right. So for this one, you must have a meeple and put a meeple onto the tile in your city in order for this building to be activated for scoring. When you draw this tile, you're going to get 3 energy cubes as an example. This one, you're going to get a meeple and the first player token, but you must put an energy marker on this to activate this apartment building. So let's go ahead and set up the board, and I'm just going to kind of grab these tiles 5 by 5 and place them out. I'm going to put it face up if it's, 4 face up. So this one, I'm just going to put face up. This number 4 is going to stay face down, and I'm just going to do it like so. So you guys are going to get an actual kind of live setup instead of a pre-setup game. The game plays pretty quickly, so you should be able to get an idea of that. And it shouldn't increase the length of the video too much. Whoops, no, let's go like that. There we go. Make sure that I'm not doing it for it. So this 4, that stays face down. So these tiles were ultimately, it's almost the same thing as if you randomly drew it out of the black bag, because I just kind of shuffled them up and then grabbed them all. And there we go. All tiles have been placed. Something feels off. I feel like I might have missed a number 4 because there it is. Yep, I knew it. There we go. There should be 4 4s that are flipped over. So how the game is played is, on your turn, you're going to take any one of the 4 markers that you have and place it anywhere around the board, indicating the tile that you want to point at. You may not put a tile on top of a tile that someone already owns, and you cannot put a tile in a row where the urbanist is located. So example, if I put my first tile here, it indicates that I want this public service building, and I'm going to put it into row 1 in my tableau, into my city. So these numbers also indicate 1, where I'm pointing at on the board, but 2, where it goes inside of my tableau. So if I place this 1, I must put this public service building anywhere in column 1 or row 1. If I say use a 2, then this public service building goes in either column 2 or row 2. Same thing with 3 and a 4. They do not have to be put down in any specific order, and that's kind of the strategy of the game, is to determine which ones you want to go after. But once you take a tile and put it into your tableau, so row 1, the urbanist goes there. And the urbanist is important because he blocks off anyone from being able to point at that location or that row. So player 2 could not put one here, 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 or here. So it kind of restricts this region. So it kind of forces them up there a little bit. And then once they place their tile, so let's say it was that one, the urbanist gets moved over there, thus moving around the board. Okay, set that back up. There we go. So that's the setup and how you take your turns. Once you've placed out all 4 markers, once all players have placed out all 4 markers, then you're going to have 4 tiles in your city. You're going to have collected the resources as indicated. If someone grabs this apartment building, then they would become the first player. If no one gets it, which is possible, then whoever has first player remains first player. And that's it. The game then resets. You're going to grab the next 25 tiles, place them out on the board, and do the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and see what a couple of turns and probably what this entire first round might look like. So as player 1, I like to probably go for maybe some shipyards. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this number 2, place it down here, grab this shipyard here, and I must put it into a row 2. I like to fill up my shipyards kind of towards the bottom because then it's easy to get them into a row. And then I'm going to take my 2 energy into my my city. Now, these would just kind of sit off to the side until ready for use. But it's important to manage those resources along with what you're trying to go for in terms of victory points. Because for every meeple that you have, say like here, that goes unused at the end of the game, this counts as a -1 victory point. Each energy that I have also in excess additionally counts as a -1 victory point. Now, parks are interesting, which, so if I had a park in my system here and I had excess energy, I can put 1 energy unit on each park to avoid losing those points. And meeples can go inside of shopping centers so that they always get used. So it's important to remember that you're also kind of managing your resources along with building out your city. All right, so player 2, let's just randomly draw this 3 and put it, oh, whoops, urbanist goes right here. Forgot about that. So he's going to grab this apartment building, put it in his row 3, right, like so, and then take 2 people into his town. Now he needs an energy in order to activate this. Player 3, they're going to use a 2, urbanist. 2, he's going to go for this one and put it into his tableau like so. And he's going to get 3 people into his city. And then back to my turn. I want to place my 1. Now remember, I can't go on top of anyone. Oops, move the urbanist. So I can't go on top of anyone, and I can't go wherever the urbanist is. But I want to be first player again as well, so I'll go right here. Grab this one, put it into my city, into my row 1. Let's put them right here, and I grab a meeple like so. And then any of your resources you can use and activate and move around at any time. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on here to activate the shipyard. And then I've got 1 extra one for later use. Okay. Next player, they'll use their 1. Urbanist, I always forget to move him. All right, they're going to use a 1 here for this building, putting it into their row 1. Let's put them all the way down here. Urbanist gets moved again, like so. And then next player takes their turn. They're going to grab a park, put it here on their number 3, 1, 2, 3, right there, so that they can hopefully get this park surrounded with some apartment buildings. Urbanist moves again, and then back to the next player. So as you see, guys, it plays pretty straightforward, and then the whole turns are just going to keep happening. I would place my final 2 tiles, put them into my city, and then once all the tiles are off the board and everyone has them in their city, you're going to grab the next tier of tiles and then replace them out there and rinse and repeat. So anyway, guys, that's my quick setup and playthrough of the game Quadropolis. Very streamlined, very straightforward, but stay tuned for a moment for my afterthoughts. And before I break down the table, though, thanks for bearing with me, guys. I need to do one sort of caveat. So this indicates the row or column that it needs to go in, but it also indicates the tier of apartment building that I can stack on. So, for example, let's say it's this person's turn over here. They have a 2, so let's say they grabbed this apartment building here. They could put this in their row 2 or column 2 or column or row, or they could place it as a second floor on any one of their buildings throughout their Quadropolis. So one sort of minor caveat to the rules and setup, but otherwise the numbers indicate the row or column, but also the numbers indicate the floor that you can place that apartment building on if you so choose. All right, guys, so I'm going to tear down the table and stay tuned again for my afterthoughts. Hey guys, thanks for joining me for that setup and playthrough of the game Quadropolis, originally published in 2016 for 2 to 4 players, with an average cost right now as of this video, roughly $25 to $30. So my initial take on I'll address the components first. Component quality, top notch. Love the acrylic meeples, the acrylic energy resources. The insert is really good, well organized for you to put everything in, so definitely a huge fan of that. Drawback of the components is the player board themselves. They're very flimsy. I would prefer that to also be a similar stock to the main player board that you have out there. But otherwise, the components are of a very good quality, from the acrylic meeples, as I mentioned, the energy cubes, the 2 pawn tokens for first player, the heavy stock board for the 1 through 4 markers when putting around the board. Theme integration, it's great. It works, you know? The artwork is really good. You can definitely get a feel that this is a city builder style game. So in terms of the theme that they've chosen, artwork, everything, it all just works. Great game in that respect. The type of gamer that would probably like this one, definitely casual. It's a very straightforward game. Easy to learn, easy to teach, easy to enjoy. Definitely something that you can get almost anyone involved into. And, you know, going back to kind of the theme and the artwork, very inviting in that regard. Replayability, high. Again, because the tiles that are there are mostly static in what they are. They're constantly random in their placement. And then you never know, one, where another player is going to go first, second, or how they're going to put their numbers out. The urbanist, he always blocks things off, also based around random and chance. So that really pushes this into a high replayability. Not only because it is a fun game, but because of the amount of randomness, you're always going to get a new fun experience. A lot of times the games that we play, you know, I don't think the same person wins the game every time just because of that, you know, sheer stance. One game you might try to go for one winning strategy. Maybe it's trying to fill up the parks and surrounding them with the apartments, or maybe it's going for heavy shopping centers. So different ways to victory always add to replayability. Reasons to buy this game: because you like a quick, easy, streamlined type of game, some fun tile placement, city planning, and a little bit of light resource management, and overall casual game to get into your collection. Reasons you may not want to add this into your collection: well, can't really think of any, to be fair. This is one that should be a staple for most board game players out there. But I guess if I had to bitch about something for not adding it in, man, nothing really immediately comes to mind. I guess it's too easy, if that's a thing. But I guess my final take and my personal thoughts on this one, this was one of the first games that I added into my collection kind of early on when I was fleshing out my board game collection for my personal stuff. You know, I'm still kind of relatively newish to the overall hobby, and that's why I'm really late to getting a lot of these videos to you guys. But My personal take is that this is a fun one. Easy to play. It says that it can go up to an hour, but if you're playing just the classic version, you're in and out in a quick 30 minutes. So anyone can easily jump in. If you've got things to do, like, if it's a holiday, you're having a short gathering, you can play this one and another kind of short type of game as well. So that's definitely why I really enjoy Quadropolis. So anyway, guys, if you have any comments about the video, please leave them down below. Always happy to answer them. If you like the content that we're doing here, really appreciate the support. So please leave a like and subscribe. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching.